Hey, welcome into the Big Ten Huddle. It's the morning of Big Ten Media Days, and me and Zach, are going to give you one tough question we would ask every team at Big Ten Media Days if we could be there and ask those questions. These are real questions that we would ask if we could be there with true serum and everything. So if you like real questions, not the easy stuff, not the fluff pieces, go ahead and like, subscribe, give us a comment on YouTube or Spotify. You can do comments on Spotify now as well. Leave us a 5-star review on any podcast platform you listen to. Helps us grow. And follow us on Twitter/X, TikTok, and Instagram at the Big Ten Huddle. You can catch the Big Ten Huddle every Monday through Friday on podcast or live on YouTube at 9 p.m. on Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday nights. Catch us Wednesday night this week as well, as we'll be covering everything that happens at Big Ten Media Days each night. Become a member, subscribe to our basketball channel on YouTube, and buy some Big Ten Huddle merch. You like the anti-SEC hat? You can get it over there. The merch link is down below. And now, let's get started with a real tough question for Zach. Zach, are you ready for your tough question?
Yes.
Zach, will Kent State hit their over for 1.5 wins this season?
Gosh, probably not. Oh,
I thought that was that was appropriate for you.
that's fair. That's fair. I'm never
boy.
gonna
I hope
escape
Kent
the
State
Kent.
gets there. I hope Kent State gets there.
I'm never gonna escape this thought that I'm like a Kent State fan. Am I?
No, you're never going to
No.
escape it.
I got to cover one game. One game. I got to be in the Penn State press box for one game. It was Kent State, and it's like that's all people want to tell me now is Zach loves Kent State. No, I like Penn State for letting me cover the game and feeding me brisket. Come on.
Hey, that says something about Penn State. If they're willing to bring out the brisket for the Kent State
Yo,
game.
dude, the spread for the Penn State for Kent State, by the way, like ridiculous chocolate chip cookies, brisket. I mean, it was I ate one meal that day, but it was a lot of trips to the buffet line.
Oh, Zach, we've already got some good questions people are putting here in the chat for us.
Is it about brisket?
No, it's not about brisket.
No.
Well, we might have more about brisket. I can't see the bottom because I'm currently scrolling above. So we might have some James Franklin, do you like the brisket questions? Philip says, Loxley, do you want to live in Kent, Ohio? A lot of questions for Loxley.
That might
Joe
be
says,
an appropriate
Loxley,
question.
what are you doing? He's got a lot of young players is what he's doing. He's building up on the young players is what he's doing.
Yeah.
Philip says the opposite person should answer the question the way you think the coach would answer. That's an
Oh.
interesting idea. You want to do that?
We could try it. I feel like
You want to do an
no,
impression of the coach? You want to do the impression of the coach?
no. I feel like
I got a really good James Franklin impression.
I feel like there are some that I feel like I would just start cracking up laughing and it'll derail the episode. So
Because the coach wouldn't laugh at the question.
right. Part of me is like, we should try that. And then I'm like, no. I think the only time we should impersonate a coach if it's meant for humor.
Okay.
That's my thought. Not actual. Like, I think we should evaluate the questions and maybe ask or think, what do we think they'll say if they have the truth serum? But I think like trying to answer it as them, that could be a lot of giggles that our podcast listeners are like, I didn't sign up for giggles. I signed up for content.
It's not the Big Ten giggles. It's not the Big Ten giggles. All right, let's get to the tough questions. Go ahead.
Zach's not trying to derail the show. Don't think that's true. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, Philip.
You're constantly derailing the show, Zach.
Whatever, man.
Illini Bubba said he signed up for giggles. So.
Oh my!
Your own or ours? I can't tell. Samuel had a Burt question. When will leave football coaching to do wrestling full time?
That
Oh no,
is
you're bringing up some tough stuff for Philip here. Philip's gonna have a hard time in the
an
comments.
excellent question, though. That is an excellent question.
Could he be just as successful as a wrestler as he is as a football coach, though? Very successful football coach.
I mean, I feel like he is successful at many things, so yes.
Yeah, he'd probably get there.
Yeah.
There. All right, let's do our tough questions. All right, so what did I do here? I've put myself
Oh no,
behind. There we go. Okay. All right. Thank goodness we fixed it. I fixed it. You didn't do anything, Zach. All right. Ohio State. First question. Let's get it right off the bat, because if I ask a question that you don't like of your coach, you can't say anything, because I'm going to ask a question that Ohio State fans might take offense to about Ryan Day. But you know what? I think it would be really, really interesting to get his answer here. So I want to ask Ryan Day, why are you okay with just sitting back and letting every team outbid you for recruits when it has been well documented that Ohio State has NIL money, plenty of it, but you refuse to spend it? Ohio State recruiting this year is in danger of falling outside of the top 10. It is a large part because Ohio State is currently operating under the revenue sharing cap when no one else is. No one else in college football is operating. I mean, maybe one or other two teams. Maybe the group of 5 teams are, but no other power conference elite team is. While I do agree with them that the House settlement will win out and collectives will no longer have free reign to put together whatever the deals they want, it is not the way to do it now. I thought things might get better when I heard that Texas and Georgia and USC were bringing their NIL collectives in-house, but those schools are operating under an either-or scenario, right? And they're all killing it in recruiting right now, getting pretty much whoever they want. Ohio State is only operating under the cap scenario with the revenue sharing. It's bad for the program, and Ryan Day is allowing this program to hinder their future when a winning national championship should stabilize it. Not saying fire Ryan Day, okay? Not doing that. But I am saying this is something that needs Ryan Day's attention, and I think he needs to answer to the fans about.
Yeah, I think it's a good question, because I think the way he would probably answer it is, this is the culture we want to build. This is who we want to be, which I'm all for that. Like, I think that's one of his strengths as a coach, is he's a culture builder. But if it's currently legal right now, and it's the wild west right now, then you need to operate with how it is right now until it closes down. And I think all the momentum from the national championship has been lost. Well, I shouldn't say all of it. A lot of it has. Now, in his defense, I think they have a lot of money set aside for retaining players, right? You have Caleb Downs, you have Jeremiah Smith, you have a lot of other veteran players. So I do think that part of the reason why you're seeing some of the recruiting misses is because of that, and not just because of their policy and their culture. But I do think there's some struggle there that I think almost Ryan is almost playing the overly righteous card when he doesn't need to.
Yeah, I wouldn't say overly righteous, because they're not like shoving it in people's faces. I think if they were come out and saying, well, we're following the rules, but nobody else, then I could see that. I think it's just overly conservative, right? I mean, the biggest hindrance here to me is that the athletic director, Ross Bjork, has been on this House settlement committee putting all of this into place. And so he really truly believes it's going to happen and it's going to work out. While I believe that it will too, like I said, I think the collectives are going to go away. It is what it is, right? Like not everybody is playing under those same standards of rules right now. So, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So.
To be fair, Illini Bubba won a natty and right now writing ethics and building an amazing roster. And this is the complaint. Things are pretty good at Ohio State.
Oh yeah. Ohio State fans fully are aware that they are spoiled, and a 9th ranked recruiting class. And it's like, oh, we're mad. It's like, yeah.
Do Ohio State fans really know that we're spoiled?
I think they do know they are. They just don't care.
That's fair.
Yeah. I mean, I've met people who know they're spoiled and they just don't care. I think that's Ohio State fans.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. Give us Wisconsin, Zach. You have
So
Wisconsin. One Luke Fickell. What are you asking Luke Fickell?
Yeah. What do you think you need to do this season to prove to the folks in Madison, Wisconsin that you're indeed the right coach for this job? Because they were really excited about that hire. A lot of people thought he was the best man for the job. It made sense why they fired Paul Chryst. He's won 11 games in 2 seasons now. Like, is he the right guy? Like, I'm not like, I think we've both questioned it, and I think it would be fair for Doug Lesmerises of Kings of the North to ask Luke Fickell directly, like, what do you need to prove that you are?
Right, and give us like the real actual answer. Like, give him truth serum. Give us the real actual answer. Don't be like, whoa, we've done some good recruiting, and I have a lot of passion, a lot of drive. No, give us the real answer.
Yeah.
Why do you think that you are the guy for this job? Stop riding off the coattails of Cincinnati and all this stuff. Well, I think he is the right guy for the job. I'm not trying to say he isn't. Why does he think he is? What is the confidence he has right now? Because being the first, having the first season where Wisconsin doesn't make a bowl game for what was it, like 20 years or something like that? I think it was longer than that. It was the longest bowl record or bowl streak in college football. To lose that, I mean, that's got to kill your confidence. And you saw that team last year. That team last year, they had their confidence killed by the end of it. The way they played against Nebraska and Minnesota.
Yeah, he's got to. And again, the question is, what do you have to prove to the folks in Madison, not just to himself? But I think for him, it's not just record. It's what does Wisconsin look like? Do they look like, who we expect Wisconsin to be, which is hopefully a better version of the run first, play action, sturdy defense that we saw under Chryst, under Alvarez, under Bielema. Hopefully it's an upgrade from that. Because I think if you do that, you can be a playoff team. You can win playoff games doing that if you get your guys and you enhance it with recruiting. But like we saw the model at Michigan, like Wisconsin could do that. But like Luke's got to prove it. He has proven that he has gotten Wisconsin out of who they were, and they've done a bad job because of it. And so is he able to make this program not just like, listen, if the answer is just 6-6, if I go 6-6, my job's saved. I don't want him. Like, I don't want him if that's his answer. His answer needs to be, I'm going to make Wisconsin football again, and I'm going to make you proud, and I'm going to do it by winning games that nobody thinks that we should.
Yeah. Guarantee you beat Bama. If he guarantees he beats Bama at media days, I'm on the Fickell train.
If he does it and then does beat Bama, it's going to be great for Fickell, and it's going to be even greater for us who heckle the SEC.
He's my favorite head coach in college football if he does it.
Yeah.
So
I'll feel bad for my Aunt Piper though. That'd be sad. She's a Bama fan. So
sorry, Aunt Piper. We got more important things to talk about here on the Big Ten Huddle. Okay. All right. You ready for Illinois?
Yes. Yeah. Let's go, Bert.
I want to ask Brett Bielema. I want to ask Brett Bielema, who are the fakest coaches in the SEC? Softball question a little bit here, but I'd be intrigued by the answer. Brett coached in the SEC years ago, and while he didn't coach there when everyone who is a head coach now was there, he obviously still has connections. He knows which of these SEC coaches can and can't coach. Not only that, but he exposed Shane Beamer. This is the down. What was I going to say? The bad stuff I was going to say about Shane Beamer for being an overrated SEC coach in the bowl game. The SEC is even trying to make a rule now for substituting since Brett Bielema completely dismantled Beamer in the bowl game. I'm convinced Beamer isn't the only fake coach in the conference, and I think Bert knows who is and who isn't, and I want him to let all of us great Big Ten fans to know. Bert, help us out.
Listen, Joe's comment. Oh, no, I am on. I thought for a minute I muted myself, and I did. Sorry. Bert, would you box Lane Kiffin for charity? That's fantastic.
Oh, yes.
That's fantastic.
He would destroy Lane Kiffin.
Yes, he would.
Yeah. I like how Carla just put Lane Kiffin right after that comment, too. So.
Yeah. Who's fake? All of them?
I wouldn't say all of them. I do think Kirby Smart is a legitimate good head coach. I don't know if he is best overall in college football, but I think winning 2 national championships, he's earned either that spot or second best, right?
Yeah, no, Kirby Smart's the best coach in college football right now. I don't think that's up for debate.
Second best, in my opinion.
Who would be first?
Ryan Day. Ryan Day's players don't go out and have terrible driving all the time.
We did have this conversation. I can be bought into that. Performance only. It's Kirby, but I think everything tied into it. I see where you're going. I don't know if there's like Mark Stoops is a genuine guy. He's just he's at Kentucky, and
I got no problem with Stoops.
Yeah, like
I think he's making a lot of money for not doing very much, but good for you, dude.
Yeah, but he doesn't shoot his mouth off either. Yeah, like this is gonna sound bad because like I want to speak charitably about people, but there's a lot of SEC coaches where you're just like,
we're not like talking personally about them and saying they're like terrible people or anything,
That's fair. That's fair. So all of them, they all stink. They all should I don't know. Like, I think probably the ones that that talk the most, right? Like, I think you're talking about Shane Beamer. You're talking about Lane Kiffin. You're talking about
Steve Sarkisian.
Steve Sarkisian.
I've said it for a while now.
Yeah.
Steve Sarkisian is way overrated. You got people putting him in the top 3 of head coaches in college football. What has Steve Sarkisian done?
You've got people putting him at number 2 above Ryan Day.
Yeah,
which I'm just like, did you?
When I saw that,
did you not see the Cotton Bowl? Did you not? Yeah. I'm like, what has Texas accomplished? They've gotten better. Like,
I could see Sarkisian as a top 5 coach. I wouldn't personally put him there, but I could see him there. Top 3 is way overrated, though. You got people putting Brian Kelly in the top 10. He's not a top 10 coach.
Oh yeah, Brian Kelly. How could I forget Brian Kelly? My goodness.
Yeah, you got Brian Kelly. People are acting like Billy Napier's a good coach, right? Billy Napier at Florida, they're like, oh yeah, this is the top 25 team. The dude hung on to DJ. That's the only reason he is still at Florida is because he held on to DJ Lagway. Yeah. Billy Napier has been awful at Florida. Not good. Yeah. Right? DJ Lagway showed a few sparks last year, and Florida decided they didn't want to ruin their revenue sharing by firing Billy Napier and paying the buyout. So they stuck with him one more year and said, let's let the buyout get a little bit lower, and then we'll fire him next year if he's not good. And we'll try to make sure DJ Lagway sticks around one more time. We'll sign him to an NIL contract once he's actually in the revenue sharing. Right? Like, that is what happened at Florida. People are trying to act like Billy Napier is some good coach now. He's not. He's not.
Yep.
At least he hasn't shown it. Maybe he is, but he hasn't shown it.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
And Hugh Freeze. I don't even want to.
No. I would say Brian Kelly, out of all of them, is he literally tried to be Cajun. Like he literally tried to. It's like, dude, just stop. Yeah, like just stop, man. But should we go to Minnesota?
Yeah, we got to get to Minnesota. What's your question for PJ?
We probably need to go more rapid fire, just with
a little bit.
So I'll be brief. PJ, don't hate me, Minnesota fans. Are you prepared to level up in paying your coaches so that you can go beyond your current level of success?
Or like, what is your strategy to do that?
Yeah.
Right? Like, are you actually talking with the administration to pay your coaches better? Because imagine what PJ Fleck could be if he had good coaches, he paid them well, and they stuck around longer than 1 or 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, strategy. Yeah, how are you going to make that happen? Because Minnesota has quietly been one of the most consistent programs in the middle of the pack of the Big Ten. And they've
overachieved.
They're getting good players. And if you pay your coaches more, you start developing your players even better. You have continuity. You can become a player not just in the middle of the pack, but you can start making waves at the top of the Big Ten.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to be like a Big Ten title contender, year in and year out. But
no,
in a year they might get up there and be a top 3, top 4 team or something like that. It could
happen. I think a reasonable ceiling as a program could be a Big Ten championship game every 5 to 7 years. Like they sneak in there. Like they have that potential, I think, if they invest in their coaches and they invest in recruiting.
Well, it's the same thing with Brett Bielema, right? Like Brett Bielema wasn't getting the funding that he wanted at Wisconsin, so he left. He went to Arkansas, and he hit his ceiling that he could at Wisconsin for what they were giving him, right?
Yep.
Has PJ Fleck hit his ceiling with what they're giving him? I don't think he's hit his ceiling if they give him more investment, but yeah, hold on. Let me do Dave's comment really fast.
Sorry.
Dave said my question for him would be, what are you going to do to get yourself over the 9-4, 8-5 hump? I think it's paying coaches and having better continuity, right? Here you go. You can go ahead and do same.
Well, I was going to say to that point, Samuel, he says Fleck can't develop quarterbacks. Get yourself one of the best quarterback coaches out there. Like,
or in this, you don't even have to develop quarterbacks in this era, right? Just go to the transfer portal and get yourself one.
Yeah,
what they did with Brosmer.
That's fair, but like you could imagine you could get a transfer similar to Will Howard, who he says he learned quarterbacking at Ohio State, like, and he was good at Kansas State, but like really developed under Ryan Day. Get yourself a quarterback coach who can develop you into that next level player.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's my yeah.
All right, ready
get
for
coaches. Do it.
All right, Indiana. I want to ask Kirk Cignetti, what is the true reason for scheduling easier out-of-conference games? Give me the true reason, right? Is it because the SEC only plays 8 conference games? Is it because you want to make sure you're bowl eligible every year? Are you scared? Is revenue-sharing funding that important that you need those home games? I just refuse to believe the narrative that people are putting out there that Cignetti is so scared to face quality competition. He's concerned he's not going to make bowl games. I don't get that from Cignetti at all, right? Not the way he talks, not the way he presents himself at all. While I understand the SEC reasoning, I get that. And if he came out and said that, I would honestly get it and I'd respect it. And securing more home games, I would understand that too. I also want to see Indiana play real out-of-conference opponents. I want to see Indiana flex on the ACC. I want to see them flex on the Big 12. And how amazing would it be, Zach, is if Indiana took down Lane Kiffin's big mouth at Ole Miss. Big mouth versus big mouth. And Kirk Cignetti can say whatever he wants about Lane Kiffin after winning that game. The Big Ten, they have quality teams, they have quality coaches, but it's starting to feel like I believe in Indiana more than Kirk Cignetti and their administration does, and that honestly kind of scares me if I believe in them more than they do.
Yeah, so you're really poking at the rationale between the non-conference backouts, right? That's kind of your...
And I'm not saying they got to go out and schedule Georgia. I'm just saying don't take Virginia off the schedule.
Yeah. I was shocked that they took Virginia off the schedule. And I think it's a good question because what really is that reason? I think it's a great question. But there's a part of me that's like, I don't know if I want to hear the answer, because if the answer is because we want to win games, I'm like, man, but you can actually prove yourself more.
That gets into the I believe in them more than they do, right?
Yeah. Well, and like
you should not look at Virginia and be like, well, what if they give us too hard of a game? No, you should look at Virginia and be like, yeah, they're just as good as Western Illinois to us, because that's how on top of things we are right now.
Yeah, I mean, imagine and Virginia was not very good last year, but if they replaced Western Illinois with Virginia a year ago, they probably win that game. It's at least another Power 4 team. Like it's at least that on your schedule, and no one's going to sit, like, they're still going to rail you for the schedule, but also no one's going to feel, or imagine if they played Louisville like they were supposed to and they beat Louisville. People weren't going to look at Louisville and be like, well, they're a really, really great team, but they were at least going to say, well, at least they played somebody with a pulse in the non-conference. So it is weird. Brenton Fender made a good point. He beat UVA at JMU. So it's like,
yeah, you should be able to kill UVA at Indiana.
Yeah. So it's weird. It's weird. I don't understand.
I'm not asking this question from a stance of like, I'm trying to derail Cignetti and say that you can't win these. I'm asking this question from a stance of like, I want to see Indiana go out and beat other conference teams, whether it's bottom of tier, ACC, whatever it is. I want other conferences to be afraid to schedule Indiana in the out of conference because it's a game that they think they'll lose. Because they probably will lose because Indiana is going to beat a whole bunch of teams from other conferences. Again, I believe in them. I just want them to believe in themselves as much as I do.
Yeah, I do. I'll just say one more thing and then we can move. But I do wonder how much it plays into Indiana's psyche that they have to build momentum to go on a run. And you can't, like, if you beat 3 teams 60-0, at least the way Signetti coaches and the way his style of play, I wonder how much that builds into the psyche that is useful for them. I'm not saying it's the right approach, but I wonder if that's a big part of it.
Uh-oh, did we get Chris Wilds in the chat?
Yeah, Chris Wilds is in the chat. Our guy from the OHIO pod.
He is about to stir it up with the Indiana fans. All right, we're just gonna let Chris stir it up with the Indiana fans in the chat the way he sees fit. So
I'm gonna ask a question to Sharon Moore. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, give us your Sharon Moore. I'll be right back. I gotta do something really fast. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Sharon Moore, my question to you: do you think Bryce Underwood can develop under you and your offensive regime? And what does he need to do in year 1 to be successful? Because the reality is, if he does not develop, at least to some level, we're going to see another 7-5, 8-4 year from the Wolverines. And I don't think that's going to happen. I'm a little higher on Michigan than I think others might be. But I think the real question is, can Sharon Moore develop a quarterback? Because last year was a disaster, and you need Underwood to be more effective for your team to be able to compete in the games that they want to. Maybe outside of Ohio State, which we won't talk about that game. But that's my big question: is do you think Bryce Underwood can develop under you and your offensive regime, and what does he need to do in year 1 to be successful as a quarterback?
Oh yeah, and like what is what are you actually doing different with the offense, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as much as we put so much on the quarterbacking last year, I almost said one quarterback name, but it was like 3 different guys. We put so much on the quarterbacking last year for Michigan and blame it on them. And yes, don't get me wrong, they did not have good quarterbacks last year. They had a lot of blame, but you also had bad wide receiver play. You also had bad passing concepts and stuff that I saw. Like, from what I saw just from the TV tape, obviously I don't have the all 22 to look at everything, but just from what I saw from the TV tape, you weren't doing a whole lot to actually help your quarterback out. You weren't doing as much with your tight ends. You weren't making as many short passes. It was evident that there was a lot more done to help the quarterbacks after Sharon Moore took over. I don't think Sharon Moore is going to want to take over in the middle of the season again like he had to last year. So what is Chip Lindsey bringing over to actually make this happen for Bryce Underwood and not just be like, well, he's got more talent. We'll see what happens.
Yep. So, by the way, you're getting a little roasted in the chat right now.
Why?
I think they're assuming where you went. I don't think.
No, I have allergies right now, and I had to sneeze, and every time I sneeze, I get snot all over myself. So I figured I'd spare you all the sight of snot all over myself. You know what? Next time, I just won't do it. I'll just get snot all over myself, and you guys.
No. Please do. We don't want that. That's right. I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to say, hey, you're getting roasted for things that people don't know.
Let them roast. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Let 'em roast. By
the way, speaking of roast, Christopher Wilds, our guy from the OHIO podcast, Alex Orgy 2.0. I am not there.
No,
I don't think that's true.
Better than Alex Orgy.
I listen. I think a lot of people are better than. I think JR, you might be better than Alex Orgy.
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I do not have a 6-pack. That alone makes Alex Orgy better. All right, we ready for this Iowa question?
Let's go. Oh,
you've been.
Yeah, I like how you conveniently kept this question to yourself and not give it to me. But go ahead. What are you going to ask the geriatric
I want
man?
to ask Kirk Ferentz, what is your true ceiling for Iowa football? Is it the playoffs? Can you get them there? Look, a lot of Ohio State fans and other blue blood programs, they try to project their program standards onto Iowa, and it's a bit unfair, right? Truthfully, Iowa isn't a national championship contender, and I don't think they will be there anytime soon, if ever. But I think they realistically can be a playoff contender year in and year out. Kirk Ferentz has had better offenses than people give him credit for before he hired his son, right? People remember Brian Ferentz, but they don't think of Nate Stanley, Ricky Stanzi, Drew Tate, CJ Beathard, right? Ferentz has had his guy in Parker, and I thought Iowa would contend for the playoff berth last year, right? If the offense was just a little bit better, but they lost a couple games with poor defense. And I think this program can do it. I do think they can get to the playoffs. I do think they can be contenders for it consistently. I think the fans can expect more than just beating your rivals. I think they can do it, and I want Kirk Ferentz to say he expects them to do it. That's what I want. I want him to say he expects them to do it because he's not still coaching at 69 years old to go 8-4 every year, right? Ferentz can do it, and he's got the backing of the university to make it happen. They spent a lot of money on Mark Gronowski to get him there. Let's make it happen. Kirk Ferentz, prove people wrong, make the playoffs.
I'm pretty sure when he gets this question, he's just going to complain and just be like, why you guys got to be so upset? I'm here to coach young men and mold young men. It's not about the record. It's about being Iowa football men. To which I say yes. And part of being an Iowa football man is that you should think about standards, like not losing to teams like UCLA and Michigan State when they're much worse than they are. So that's my
hate Kirk. You really hate Kirk Ferentz.
I don't hate Kirk Ferentz. I'm just listen, he gives the media a hard time, and if he's going to give the media a hard time, then the media has a right to give it back. And I think it is fair. I think that question is actually an excellent question because I think Kirk Ferentz has not been held accountable in that way.
I don't know if I wouldn't say he's been held accountable. I think Iowa fans are just happy with beating their rivals and being a second-tier program in the Big Ten. And that's what they've been, right? They have been a team that has beat Wisconsin, Minnesota, Nebraska, and they've been a second-tier program in the Big Ten, not really vying for that first-tier spot every time they've got an opportunity to in a Big Ten championship or something like that. They play okay, but eventually start to lose out, right? I think at the end of the day, the fans are just happy where things are at. And I'm saying it's good to be happy where you're at, sure, but I just think Iowa can take that next step. And I want Kirk Ferentz to admit that they can take that next step so that way the fans can actually start expecting that to happen.
Yeah, and I think, so, Joe, jokingly, Zach hates Ferentz more than he hates Indiana. No, I don't hate Indiana. I also don't hate Ferentz. I just think he's coasted for the past couple of years. He's a great coach. He's a really good coach. I think he's coasted. And I think that's why I like the question. So
I would like to say that Zach and I do not agree on everything, and I respect Zach's opinion, but that doesn't mean I agree with him on everything. We might have to have this conversation longer at some other point, but for now, we do need to move on. For Zach to give his question to Mike Loxley at Maryland.
We might need to do a deep dive on Ferentz. We might really need to do deep dive. But I think we're both going to agree with Loxley. We tend to agree on Loxley. What could you have done to prevent the struggles in recruiting? Do you think you have underachieved over the past several years, particularly during the Taulia Tagovailoa years? And what is the ceiling of this program under your leadership? I think you need to ask those questions because I think how he interprets his past, both in recruiting and also with Taulia, helps you understand if he's the future. Because we've given him a lot of junk on this program, but the reality is he has done some really good things for Maryland.
Yeah, I mean, he improved the record like every year after COVID. That's one of the things that makes it so mind-boggling. You look at his record in September, you look at the way he's able to start the year, and then you look at like how things kind of bottom out, and then you see him play really well against Ohio State or Michigan, and then they don't come out and they play the same way they don't come out and play the same way again. So, yeah, I mean, the ceiling for me is Mike Locksley gets this team to play consistently, for an entire season, and let's see where it goes. Get a talented team, play consistently for the entire season. Can they go 9-3? Could they get to 10-2?
Yep.
Mike Locksley gets a lot of talent. Mike Locksley has really good quarterback play. We'll see.
Yep. That's good.
All right. You want my Oregon question?
Yep. Go for it.
All right. I want to ask Dan Lanning, will Oregon still be a national championship contender when the Phil Knight money runs out and stops being the funder that he has been for the program? Of course, he will say, but given some truth, like he'll say, like, oh, yeah, we'll still be good, but give him truth serum, right? I want to know what Dan Lanning actually thinks. I want to know what his honest opinion is here, right? Lanning has created an awesome staff with awesome culture up there. No one wants to give him credit, though, but I will. I just want it to continue even after the Phil Knight money fountain is turned off. Can Lanning pitch the development? Can he pitch the culture to kids that come to Oregon, not just on Phil Knight's dime, right? Because that's the big talking point that everybody has. Lanning obviously has long-term plans to be there for a while. He would have taken the Alabama job if he didn't, right? He was very close to that, it sounded like. But I want to believe in Oregon now, and I want to hear Dan Lanning give his reasons why we should continue to believe in Oregon in the years to come, even after Phil Knight is done giving so much money to the program.
Yeah, which is the perfect question to ask in the NIL era, because I think Dan Lanning would say, we're going to figure out a way to get more backing. Right. I think that would be the answer I'd want to hear.
Right, but he has to also acknowledge that he is never going to have the fountain that Phil Knight is now again. Mm-hmm. So even if you do have good NIL, which is great, you're never going to have the fountain of Phil Knight again once the fountain turns off,
Well, I might just disagree. Like, if Phil Knight has planned like legacy planning, the fountain may not dry up.
I mean, maybe,
completely.
But the way I envision it now, and Oregon fans, you tell me if I'm wrong, the way I envision it now is Dan Lanning has Phil Knight on speed dial, and he calls up Phil Knight, and he's like, look, man, we got this quarterback that, we really, really need him here at Oregon. And Phil Knight's like, oh, well, I already gave you $4 million for him. He's like, well, what about 5? And he's like, okay, yeah, 5. Plans change. I kind of see it like that. Maybe I'm completely off, but I feel like there is more to having Phil Knight, actually able to converse and make things happen than just like, well, I've put it on a plan and stuff like that. So, All right. Michigan State, Zach, what's your question for Jonathan Smith?
Can Aiden Childs ever be more than just a project at quarterback? I mean, it's self-explanatory. Yeah. And again, it's a brutal, blunt question, but we've been talking about the flashes of Aiden Childs. If he puts it together, Michigan State could be really good. But he has been really inconsistent and really turnover prone, and he's a project. So can he be more than that?
Yeah, I mean, he's
raw. What do you have to do to develop? What do you have to do to develop him?
He's raw. But he ended the season well last year. So, I mean, I think Jonathan Smith would tell you he certainly could, and I think he'd be 100% truthful in that, because I think Aiden Childs showed at the end of last year he can. Let's remember, Aiden Childs went through a really rough stretch because he played some really good teams in a row.
Yep, and that's fair.
Started conference season. But if I'm Jonathan Smith, I'm doing everything I can to try and replicate what I did with my quarterbacks at Oregon State, over here at Michigan State. I mean, look what he did with DJU, man. DJU was not very good at Clemson that year. Went to Oregon State. He wasn't spectacular or anything. He did well, but he was a good, consistent, reliable QB. And then he went out to Florida State, and it was like, that's not great. So whatever he did with DJU, do it with Aiden Childs, please.
Yep.
All right, you ready for my USC question?
Yes, go for it.
I think Trojan Fight. I just saw his name in the chat. So Trojan Fight, this one's for you, okay? I want to ask Lincoln Riley, is it true, right? There's a lot of speculation about USC and their NIL. Is it true that USC is spending with no regard to the House settlement and plans to completely revolt the decision. Some of the numbers we have heard rumored for recruits at USC have been absolutely insane, crazy, and they can't fit under the cap. Even this one class can't fit under the cap from the numbers that we've heard. Either USC is refusing to pay anyone but this draft class alone, or they're spending with no regard to the House settlement and the cap. What's the plan if the cap does hold, right? What's the plan if all promises on all this money, you can't pay the players what you were going to pay them before? And by the way, I'm not hating on you here, right? If you got a buck, spend it, all right? I defended Ohio State's $20 million roster all year, but if we're in a crazy time right now of college sports where now you can promise Mark Bowen $10 million, you can promise Luke Wafel $3 million, but if you can't pay it, what is the plan moving forward? Let him sit and just be ineligible? Like what is the plan here? I would like to know what Lincoln Riley has as a backup plan if they do have to start following the cap.
Listen, I think it's a good question, but I think there was a better one you could have asked.
What?
Do you think you should self-proclaim yourselves as the SEC champs since you went undefeated against them last year?
Well, it's a softball question.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah.
And I'd say, oh, yeah, do it.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting question because right now, yeah, the way that they're recruiting, they're on a tear.
Yeah.
But yeah, is if things shut down, yeah, it's fascinating because you're getting into the politics in NIL and all the SCORE Act and all that, and it's a lot of ramifications for the future, and especially if this all goes away in a year, like, thanks for your services for this year, but what are you going to do next year?
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. All right, Nebraska, Zach. What are you asking Matt Rule?
Wait, no, we missed Purdue.
No, Purdue's under Northwestern.
Oh, I got them switched around. I
got Northwestern next. Don't worry, we'll get to David Braun.
Okay. Matt Rule. Why is this year going to be different for Nebraska? We've been saying that Nebraska's back since like 2015. Is it really going to be this year? That's my question.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what he'd say to that, and I don't know if he could say anything to that would convince me, right? Because like you said, we've been asking it for years, Nebraska offseason champs, all this stuff. It's the same reason why I'm not falling on the bandwagon with everybody else picking Nebraska to go 9-3. They have the schedule for it. They have the returning quarterback. They have like 8 5-stars, former 5-stars on the roster. I don't know if it's 8, maybe it's like 7 or 6 former 5-stars on the roster. Like, they have talented dudes that can make it happen. It's just like, you know, what's going to happen here, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, put up or shut up.
Yeah. So, all right. I mentioned the SCORE Act, and you guys are all in the chat about it. We don't have time to mention it all right now. We'll have to do it another time. So, Northwestern. I want to ask David Braun, how much did you benefit from Pat Fitzgerald's structure in year one? Can you run this program to be anywhere near where Pat Fitzgerald had it? David Braun took a Northwestern team that was supposed to win 1 or 2 games and had them win 8 games instead. Awesome. Bravo. We were all astonished, and then he followed that up by getting his own staff, creating his own roster, and implementing his culture, and that produced a 4-8 season and last place in the odds to win the Big Ten this year. Was it just a QB situation, or is Zach Lujan just not the guy, right? Is he too young? Does he not have enough experience? David Braun is in a prove-it year, in my opinion, at Northwestern. I'm not saying he needs to win 8 games, not saying he needs to win 9 games or anything like that, but he needs to win more than 4, especially with this defensive line who he has that is very underrated, and also Caleb Tiernan as well. I like what Northwestern did this offseason. I want to see it translate onto the field this year, and I want David Braun to tell us why he's going to make it happen and why he can bring Northwestern back to not exactly what Pat Fitzgerald built, but something similar.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense because I think we gave a lot of praise to David Braun in year one. And I am not of the opinion that it's because he had Pat Fitzgerald's system and structure. Because I think you have to realize too, like, you're talking about not just a system, you're talking about inheriting players who a lot of them were, high character guys. They were well trained, but they were not very talented.
They just had some weird hazing. That's all they had. Just some weird hazing.
Yeah. I'm not going to comment. We don't need to go there. Yeah. But I think it's still a fair question. Like, now that it's your program, I think it's similar questions, ironically, that we've had with Ryan Day, where it's like, when it was no longer you were out of the shadow of Urban, it felt like he was not doing as well. And I feel like similarly, I think there are similar questions for David Braun. So I like it. I think it's a good question.
I saw a little bit of the relation there too when I was writing it. So, all right. Zach, who you got next? Purdue.
Barry, how are you going to fix this mess? That's all I got.
Very straightforward, to the point. I think he'd say, I'm going to make it like UNLV. Right?
Yeah, except he's got to play teams like Ohio State and Michigan and Indiana.
Yeah, that's true. I do wonder how it's going to happen. I mean, I'm not down on Barry Odom at all. I just don't know. I don't know what Barry Odom's going to do. I don't know if he has a specialty that he's going to come in with, right? Jeff Brown came in with his specialty of quarterback, wide receiver play, going to do some really creative stuff and make things happen. Is Purdue the type of program that needs somebody like that, where you have to almost, I want to say, do gadget stuff, because that makes Jeff Brom seem worse than he is, and I don't think Jeff Brom is bad. Mm-hmm. But can they just get a really good head coach to come in and develop players and be at a good, system? I don't know. It'd be interesting.
I think the thing that I would just, and I don't want to just make everything about schedule, but we have to remember too, like, Purdue under Jeff Brom was like in the West, and they were able to kind of play weaker opponents in the conference. That's not like in 2021, they played an overranked Iowa team and won. They beat an overranked Michigan State team and won. But then lost to Notre Dame, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Ohio State, right? And they overachieved that year. They went 9-4. They beat Tennessee. Tennessee, Josh Heupel, speaking of fake. But like they overachieved in 2022, similar. They went 8-6 or 8-5 before the bowl game. Jeff Brom left after the Big Ten championship game. But again, they overachieved, but they were able to because they were in the West. Plus, they had Jeff Brom. But now, like, this schedule, man, like, Barry Odom could not have picked a worse year schedule-wise. Golly.
You could argue, though, that it's better to do that, right? It's better to come in with a really tough schedule, see what you guys are made out of, see what you got. I could see the argument for it's better to come in with like a really good schedule. We'll see what the schedule looks like next year, but that can come in and possibly look better. So Jeff Brom did beat Ohio State. So I hear what you're saying about the Big Ten West. He also he played Michigan, what was it, twice? Yeah, he played him in the Big Ten championship game. And that game was close up until the second half when Michigan pulled away. And then 2023, that was Walters. So he only played Michigan once, I think. Was it 2017? Was he there? I think he was there in 2017.
Yeah.
So he played him twice. But he did beat Penn State, or he did beat Ohio State, and he gave Penn State a really good game that year in 2022 as well when they went to the Big Ten championship. So, they didn't necessarily have the wins against the top tier of the East, but
I'm not trying to. Sorry, it's making me sound like I'm down on them. I'm just saying it was a combination of things. Like, it was, you had a good coach, but also you were not playing the murderer's row that you're playing this year. Like, it's It's at Washington. It's not home
Yeah,
at
this year you're right. This year,
Yeah.
but we'll see what the future schedules look like.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right, ready for me with Rutgers?
Do it.
All right. I want to ask Greg Schiano, what makes Rutgers prepared to enter this new world of being NFL light? Reporter Brian Fonseca of New Jersey Advanced Media recently reported that Rutgers is targeting an alumni and seasoned sports executive, Brian, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Lefamina. I apologize. I probably got that wrong, but they are trying to get him to be the athletic director in a position that's been vacant for almost a year. He's been a sports business executive for a long time, working in the NFL as a senior vice president with the Washington Commanders as the president of business operations and chief operating officer. This kind of hire to me would be a clear sign that Rutgers is wanting to continue forward with the NFL light model. I don't envy Rutgers for having to hire an athletic director in this era of college football at all, with so much happening, so much changing. But is Schiano ready for it, right? Rutgers, don't laugh. Rutgers nearly had 9 wins last year. They almost did. We talked about it in the offseason. It was like, oh, it'd be crazy if they did. But they could have beat Illinois. They could have beat UCLA. They could have beat Kansas State. They arguably should have won 2 of those 3, if not all 3 of those games. And the nation would be thinking much, much differently of Rutgers if they had won those games. I'm not very I shouldn't say I'm not. I am very intrigued by this move by Rutgers. To me, it's a great move as long as Greg Schiano is completely on board with it, and I assume he is.
The only problem is that On the Banks, which is a Rutgers site, is reporting that Lefamina has actually withdrawn his name.
Rats. But still, even if it's not Lefamina, it still shows that they're trying to go in this direction, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
it still shows, even if Lefamina is not going to be the guy, which it sounds like he's not based on that, it sounds like they want to go with this NFL light model.
Which, yeah, they really do. Like, I think you're seeing Rutgers wants to put in the money and the time to make this work.
And they should. They have Schiano. Schiano can take him really high places for that program.
Yep.
So, Chris, I've let it out. The problem is last year, I gave Rutgers a hard time, and the Rutgers fans all left and stopped listening to the podcast.
We got to get Larry back on the show. Larry Crane back on the show.
Yeah, we do. I do like Rutgers. I want them to do well.
Yeah, me too.
All right, Zach, what's your question for Deshaun Foster?
Are you still in LA? No, that's not my question. What mistakes did you learn from last year in your debut? And why should you get more than just one more year? And how are you going to get Nico up to speed without anything more than fall camp? To me, I think he needs to prove to himself as well as to everyone in LA why he deserves more than a second year. Because if you think about it, most guys in his position, you don't give that much leash to. So I think that's a big part of it. But then also, I think you have to ask the tactical question of Nico's only going to have, 3 months at the program to learn an offense and to build chemistry. That is not easy. Yeah. And you have maybe a month of official practices where the coaches can actually be there. I want to know his answer to that, because that feels like such a massive disadvantage. And it makes you wonder, is Nico going to be the guy? Which, I mean, I know he will be eventually. It'll be terrible for my fantasy team if he's not. So come on, Nico. But I think that's a big thing that
I would probably center the question about Nico, right? Because there's just so much drama there. There's so much intrigue with everything. Like, what I'd probably ask something along the lines of like, what are you doing to mitigate the drama with Nico Iamaleava?
Yeah.
Right? I know that sounds really direct and tough, but that's what it's meant to be, right? Give me a tough question here on Nico, right? Do you think that you can have a diva, and that's what whether it was him or his family, whatever it was, that's what happened at Tennessee, something happened with him being a diva or his family being a diva, whatever it was. Do you think after struggling last year that is actually the best option? Is the talent worth it? Is the talent of Nico Iamaleava worth the potential drama? Not maybe just from him, but maybe his family, whoever it was, whatever the drama stemmed from last year. That'd probably be my question. Not that I'm, hurting on yours or anything like that. I just probably center it much more toward Nico. So, all right. Let's get to my last question. This one is for Jedd Fisch at Washington. I want to ask Jedd Fisch, can Washington win a national championship, and can you take them there? Look, this Washington football program has a crazy history. Less than 20 years ago, they went 0-12, and then they followed up a couple coaches later, go with 3 consecutive 10-win seasons in the Chris Petersen era, right? Then you had Jimmy Lake, who he wasn't the guy, and then you had Kalen DeBoer, who was the guy and took him to a national championship, right? It's much more difficult now to win a national championship, so I'm not necessarily saying I think they are going to go out and win it, but this is a program that has experienced some of the best coaches in the sport and some of the worst as well, which is Jedd Fisch, right? Which is Jedd Fisch. Year one showed a lot of potential, but he there's a possibility here he's either Chris Petersen or Keith Gilbertson, right? A lot of coaches have walked through Washington, and if Jedd Fisch is the right guy, he needs to start making the playoffs as soon as Kalen DeBoer did in year 2, and Chris Petersen would have if there was a 12-team era as well. Chris Petersen won 10 games 3 years in a row, bam, 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 and he would have been in the playoffs at least 2 of those 3 years in my mind. I think Jedd Fisch can get them there, but I want to know Jedd Fisch's thoughts on getting them there, expectations, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think he would be very, very bold in saying yes and yes. I agree. I think Washington is a program that can win a national championship. I'm not sure I believe that Jedd Fisch is the type of guy that can get them there.
I question it more because of how long he stays, right? Like that's been the problem with Washington, right? Washington gets a good coach and then they leave. You know, Steve Sarkisian won 9 games for him, and he left for USC right away.
Yeah.
You know? This is the thing. Washington has a program that will invest and give the coach what they need, but it's never enough for the coach. Why is it never enough? Is it the recruiting? What is it? Like, for the coach, they have the opportunity to win and do good stuff there. So it's never, to me, it's never like, oh, the program's fault, because the program has shown they've done it before. If Jedd Fisch fails at Washington, it's Jedd Fisch. It's not Washington.
Yeah. Well, I will say they had a really good 6-year run with Chris Petersen, and the only reason why he left was he retired. He left coaching.
Right.
So
and that's understandable, but then you have Kalen DeBoer leave for Alabama, which, granted, really good job. I'm not trying to say Washington's on par with Alabama, but, why wouldn't Kalen DeBoer, who's from that area, who's coaching that area, want to do more there, I'm sure there's drama behind the scenes that I'm not aware of, but a similar thing with Steve Sarkisian. Not that he was from there, but, they gave him time. They let him build that up. What do you have, 3 7-win seasons in a row? And they were patient with him. They gave him time. He wins 9 games, and then he bolts.
Yep. Yeah. So. No, it's a good question.
All right, give us the last one here, Zach. We've saved them for last. Penn State, James Franklin. What are you asking?
What does Drew Aller need to do to be a championship-winning quarterback? And how do you need to change to be a championship-winning head coach? Because, the big stigma for both those guys, I think Drew Aller is, we see the potential, but what needs to happen for you to unlock that potential? And James Franklin, everybody likes to hate on James Franklin. He actually is a pretty darn good head coach, right? And Diego Pavia, hubris aside, the last time Vanderbilt was relevant was when James Franklin was the coach. The SEC was better then. It was a tough conference in 2013 and 2014.
Yep.
And Like he was getting to bowl games. He's winning 8, 9 games a year. So, like, say what you want about James Franklin. He is a good football coach, but he needs to be great. He needs to be elite if they want to win a national championship. And so, what are the little things that he needs to change about himself to be a championship winning head coach? I'm curious if he would think about that and if he would actually answer it honestly.
James Franklin will win you a lot of football games. He will take you to some very high highs, but this is the year that he has the opportunity to show that he's not just a coach that can win you some games, right? He's a coach that can win you championships. There's a difference between the two, right? And James Franklin has this year to prove it. So what is he going to do this year to prove that he's not just a coach that can win you a bunch of games, but he's a coach that can bring a championship to your college? Not every coach can do that. Some people think, oh, if you went to Ohio State, anybody can win a national championship there. I think anybody could win 10 games there. Or not anybody. A lot of coaches could win 10 games there, but not everybody can win a national championship at Ohio State. Not everybody can win a national championship at Alabama, Georgia. Insert your blue blood here, right? It also takes that extra firepower, whatever it is, from a coach to get you over the hump to win the national championship. And I think we got to see that from James Franklin this year. Otherwise, we know the ceiling for Penn State under James Franklin is not national championship contender. So, all right, Zach, I think that's all we got, man. Everybody, we appreciate you being in the chat. We have tried to get through this as long as we could, or as quickly as we could. Not as long. It might have seemed like as long as we could, but as quickly as we could. But obviously that took a little bit longer. We are going to end the episode here. Zach, do you have anything else to get to before we get out of here? No? Okay, you're on mute.
Yep.
All right.
No.
We are going. What'd you say? Were you gonna say something?
No, I'm good. I plead the fifth.
Okay. All right, everybody. Hey, we appreciate you being here. Thank you, everybody in the chat. Great show. Oh, Blue Wolverine's here. Didn't even see a Blue Wolverine. Sorry about that. Thank you. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next time. Have a good one.